mean, it's only the bizarre context of, what in such a short period of time became accepted as conventional practices that there's anything, revolutionary at all about any of this stuff. It's like, having a garden, buying food from farmers, eating food that's not sprayed with chemicals, using traditional means of transforming the foods. I mean, none of that is really also radical. Possibly 1/2 of all the food that we produce we're throwing away. Okay, well, how do you slow down the decomposition of food? How do you make use of like these sudden abundances of vast amounts of things? How can we, sort of help people with, with limited resources, like get more nutrition out of their food? Well, fermentation is a set of skills that people can use to turn whatever food resources they. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like I did just get interested in fermentation, and then I started seeing connections between fermentation and all these other movements. I just love that fermentation is such a direct metaphor for social change and a period where people believe in change. It's not that I think that we all need to be slaves to tradition and we need to live exactly the lives that our parents and our grandparents did, but I think that we have to safeguard our cultural legacies, and we have to, make use of the seeds and the, sort of wisdom that we have inherited. The model in the second half of the 20th century is let's have as few people as possible involved in food production, and we'll make it really efficient and centralized so that, they can produce enough food to feed everybody else, and then everybody else has all this free time where they can go shopping or, watch TV. Part of it is just that, in our particular society, we just are encouraged to behave as consumers. It's not a balanced way of being to just be a consumer. Like, consuming is using, and it's okay. Like, we all need resources, but, it doesn't work if we're all just consuming them. Like, we also have to, sort of think about producing resources that other people can use. We have to be more directly involved, and I think that a society like we've created where less than 1 in 100 people is involved in direct production of food, the methods that enable that are really destructive technologies. We could have a much saner society if maybe instead of 1 in 100 people, 1 in 10 people was involved in food production. Get involved. I mean, I see it happening. I mean, when I went to college in the 80s, no college students were talking about farming. And, like every college I go to now, there's some students who are imagining that as a future for themselves. It's like honest work that helps to, produce better food options for people, in your community, and that's a good thing.
My name is Melissa Barker. I am the organic farm manager at the Evergreen State College. I also have a business with my husband. In one way, my business at home, we raise and process ourselves pasture poultry, and then we're selling it at the co-op. So it's a product that's not available locally, it's not available from small-scale farmers. We're certified organic. And so that feels really good. Like, I'm feeding my community because I can bring it into a store that I shop at and believe in. Financing is always a really big one. And not just financing, having enough money, but how your cash flows. So having enough money to pay the bills when the bill comes, I think is really hard, especially with farming because it's so seasonal. So you get a lot of money in the summer and the fall, and then all your expenses are in the spring. In the last couple of years, there's been a lot of great micro loan enterprises, so you can borrow $100 up to $25,000, pretty low interest at it. So we have cash flow projections, Excel spreadsheets that we now keep. And so if anything unexpected comes up, we can see how that relates to our entire business and where we might need to cut back. If you are a young entrepreneur, you want to have a business. I've had so many businesses, and take a course where you learn business planning. I cannot stress it enough. I teach for a nonprofit called Enterprise for Equity. I help them teach their agricultural business class, And I took that program myself for my business at home. Most people do not do a business plan, and by doing a business plan, you really think about your whole business in a holistic way, not just the parts of your business that you like, and also other people taking your business seriously. When you write a business plan, they're like, wow, you're really serious, you put a lot of time into this. Get experience, advice from everyone you can who's doing something similar to you. If you keep asking, you will find people who are willing to share everything about their business, everything about themselves and their farm with you. And then get a really great community around you so you all can talk about all the ups and downs and things like that. So when you're down, you have other people who are like, oh, that same thing happened to me and I did this. And you know, just that advice and community is great to have.
My name is Sash Sunday, and I grew up in Olympia, Washington. I left for a while and then came back. And around that time I started getting into eating healthier and maybe spending less time in bars drinking cheap beer, and realized how good you can feel if you actually take care of yourself. And I started gardening, and I ended up with a lot of cabbage one time, and I made some sauerkraut, and that was the first time I had eaten raw sauerkraut. It took about $30 each to start our business. And then we just sort of learned as we went, like, oh, we need to register the business, we need to pay taxes quarterly, we need to, you know, you just sort of figure out when you get a notice that tells you you did something wrong, you make a note of that and you do it right from then on. Definitely sit down and come up with a plan, and try to think through as many parts that you can, because you won't be able to think through everything, but it will definitely be helpful. I didn't set out to be a business person per se. I just wanted to find a way to support myself doing something that I thought generally helped more than hurt the world. And I made it up, and I made it up through a deep consideration of my values, and so it just continues to be something that's important to me. You know, my talents are sort of in the food realm, and so I feel like I can contribute the most by making delicious foods from the foods that the farms grow in this region. We have grown the farms to some extent. I know the first full year we were in business, we purchased $1,400 worth of local produce, and last year we purchased $16,000 worth of local produce. And I do like doing this work. A lot of it seems like it should be really annoying and kind of busy work, but I still wake up every morning at like 6 in the morning and want to start. You know, it's not always fantastic, but it is fun. It's very engaging. It's like it's been a little over 5 years, and I'm still completely engaged. I feel like it's more about educating people about the value of eating raw fermented foods, and then we are there as a source of that.
Hi, my name is Gail O'Sullivan, and I'm here with Fertile Ground. We're mainly about food, shelter, and sharing. My motive is that I believe in the commons as a concept, teaching people what it is to take responsibility for things that are not directly owned by them. People used to understand that there was a shared resource that everyone could use lightly and regulate for themselves, so that there was always enough left over for somebody else to have a shot at using it. And that has been largely lost in today's world. So while we offer the space to anybody free of charge anytime, we are silly hoping that some people will say, how can I give back? People often say that they feel inspired. And that is really big, because inspired means they go home and try it themselves. You know, that there's things about it that they think, well, heck yeah, I could do that. You know, I could create that. We have opportunities to really connect with some of the herbs and plants and bamboo that we have here and do some sort of micro-enterprise work. Like, we're always hoping somebody will stop by and really want to make tea from our garden. So we're growing all these great plants that you could make tea from. We could sell it here at the Nook. I don't have time to make tea. Somebody else does. So there's the tea business. There's all this bamboo on site that someone could be harvesting and turning into bamboo products. And we would love for that to happen. It's probably one of the main reasons we're growing bamboo, is to make stuff out of it. So we're sort of a container for lots of different things to happen. And we have a lot of different resources to help make it happen, but we don't have all the energy. So we're really depending on people who will show up, who have the energy to create those things that they can then share with all the rest of the community. Like, somebody recently approached us about having an art camp for kids this summer, and so we've been talking about that, and we've got it scheduled for August now. It's an overblown analogy, but I think that, you know, what Central Park provides for New York City is what we'd like to provide for Olympia. Just that little bit of solace and respite in the middle of all this concrete jungle and heat and turmoil and traffic. You know, it's nice to be able to sail in someplace where there's green space and chickens and water trickling and cohesion and flowers.
My name's Lisa Smith, and I'm so excited to be here because I work with Enterprise for Equity. I've been the executive director there for a while, and I'm sitting at Fertile Ground, who is one of our graduates, one of our first early graduates completing our program with a business plan. And they have opened up a little food nook where I just bought some things, and I'm happy about that. If a person's in business and wants to figure out how to be more profitable, how to reach better markets, how to get their operations plan together, how to understand cash flow, all of those things. These are for food, fish, and farm-based businesses that want to grow. And there's a market for locally grown produce. We partner with WSU Extension and the Thurston Conservation District and other partners in the region to help cultivate these new agripreneurship businesses, these small food-based businesses, and help them grow. And so some of the examples are Olykraut, Nineveh, the best Middle Eastern food you'll find right at the street, Tierra Bonita, which is really great, Tamale Fusion. What I know is that if we help businesses be strong, they'll get strong and need to hire more people. And then we have more people getting into the food movement, both as entrepreneurs, as employees, and of course as consumers.
So I'm TJ Johnson, and I am the director of the local food system program at Sustainable South Sound, an organization that's been around in Olympia for about 20-some years and has worked on various elements of sustainability. Our message back to the Regional Planning Council, elected officials, is that's not sustainable. You can't call losing 18% of your remaining farmland sustainable. If land is zoned for something other than farming, like for housing, it'll usually develop into housing because the people who own that land can get more money off of building houses than they can off of allowing it to be farming. We've got to work with our elected officials, our county commissioners in particular, to get as much land as possible zoned agricultural. And once it's zoned agriculture, then we need to make sure that it's actually being used for food production. We need the rural big chunks of land for big farms, but we also need community gardens and small plots in cities too. So, I mean, it all starts with education, but it's a slow process, and a lot of it is one-on-one and very, simple grassroots organizing work that sort of builds from the bottom up. Because if people don't understand there's a problem, if people don't understand the issues, there's really no reason they would take any actions or do anything different. So you have to give them the information, you have to help them understand what the problems with the current approach are, you have to help them understand that there are alternatives. Start going to their city council meetings and their county commission meetings every month and tell them it's important to preserve farmland. We cannot have a sustainable local food system if we don't have land. Talk to your friends and neighbors. Get other people educated about this. What are you eating? Where's it coming from? How's it being produced? Is it leading towards the sort of world that you want to see? We have tremendous power as consumers and as citizens, and we need to use both of those to make a difference. There's advocacy work. There's people we just need farmers. We need people who want to farm, who know how to produce food in sustainable ways. We need people who are educators. There's food justice. I mean, that's a whole other issue we haven't talked about, but there's a lot of hungry people in our community and in our country. And, why is that? So there's a tremendous number of ways to plug in. No, that's one of the struggles right now, is that most of the people doing this really important work are doing it as volunteers, and that's not sustainable. And we're working on that because we know if we really want to make the difference, you can't depend on volunteers to do that. We need to have people who are compensated, who can do this full-time, living wage for years on end to make it happen. There's opportunities, federal funding and other things, but you have to have some basic infrastructure and some experience to be competitive for those. So that's what we've been doing the last couple of years, building the Food Policy Council, getting this into the Regional Sustainable Development Plan, getting local ordinances changed so that when we are, have an opportunity to go after big multi-year grants that could take us to the next level, we're now better positioned to do that than we were 2, 3, 4 years ago. All of what I've done as a volunteer, with the exception of teaching at Evergreen. I live because I grow a lot of my own food. So, that's one way to do it, is cut down on your costs. You have some choices in life. You can get a new cell phone every couple of years. You can buy a new car every couple of years. You can buy the latest gadget, whatever, every couple of years. Or you can do other things with your money, and I guess we choose to do other things with our money. Having more and new and better is kind of what the whole problem is with our society right now. I guess the best advice I could offer is figure out where your heart is, where's your passion, and then start doing it. And it can lead to some miraculous places. I mean, when I started doing this food work 5 years ago, I didn't know where it was going to lead, and it's led to opportunities to teach at Evergreen full-time, and it's led to opportunities to speak at conferences and to meet some of my heroes in the food world, and one-on-one conversations with local elected officials to where now they look at our organization and our community as a resource. When they have questions about things, they come to us and they ask us questions. And so that's been really cool, but I couldn't have predicted any of that 5 years ago. So, doesn't matter where you start someplace, follow your passion and see where it leads.
Hey, how you doing? Good, good. I'm being interviewed, but the food nook is open if you want something. This is so cute. Shut up!
We need to post you on Facebook and get everybody down here.
We made the tables out of trees that came down in our yard, too. They're locally made tables.
Shut up.
Shut up! Those are our trees!
What the people need is a way to make them smile. It ain't so hard to do if you know how. Gotta get a message. Get it on.
Doing a documentary kind of thing on sustainability. I just happened to come down to do some shooting. And
How cool is that?
I know.
Do you have a pen? Oh my God.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Every time we stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What if field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and a carrying signs, mostly say hooray for our side. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going